Hi everybody, this is Mahina and welcome to the ImaginAdventures Podcast. How are you doing today? Right, so today we're going to be talking about how bad things lead to good things, always. So it may sound paradoxical, but it is absolutely true, and I'm speaking from life experience, from personal experience, and also from having worked with many clients over the months and years on very different levels. And so there are a few things that I've managed to really grasp and that I would like to share with you today. So first of all, bad thing, in the dictionary, it's interesting to see. So bad is defined as something or someone or an experience of poor quality or low standard. But what I believe is very important to consider when we talk about bad, and in the podcast, every time I talk about the word or I mention the word bad, I don't talk about the way we all define that word. I'm talking more about the way you individually define the word depending on what you are experiencing. So what is good or bad for us really depends on our own belief and perception of what is good and bad. So, good and bad is it's a moral concept. Obviously, there are some things that are good and some things that are bad, that because they're hurting somebody and they're just not right. Okay, so however, one person can be experiencing something, the same thing as the other one, and experience something that to them makes them feel really bad, whereas for the other person it's okay. So it's a very subjective and individual experience. So a bad experience, for example, is when something goes wrong, when you go out, for example, to the supermarket and you get stuck in the traffic, and then your tire gets flat, you got flat tire, and you get to the supermarket and it closes down, and you go home and you didn't have any food that you had planned on getting, and anyway, that something goes wrong and it drags on and it becomes a bad experience. It can also be an accident or a tragedy. You lose somebody that you love, or for some people you go through a big trauma, and I'm not going to go into detail because I don't want to be negative here, but it is actually something that an accident or tragedy that you didn't plan and really didn't go your way. And then it can also be a bad experience, can also be failure, but more in the sense that we perceive failure. Failure doesn't exist, by the way. It is just it's all about the word that you use. So failure are stepping stone to getting to where you want to be. So anyway, but in society, a lot of people are talking about failure as a bad experience, a negative experience. Then we have bad moments. Okay, so a bad moment is something that is not dragging on in time, but it happens fairly quickly, but it's a moment. So let's say, for example, you hurt yourself, you fall, you trip, and you hurt yourself. That's a bad moment. You have an argument with your partner and you get emotionally hurt. That's a bad moment. But it's these things that tend to pass fairly quickly, but they didn't feel good when they happen. And then we have bad people, bad person. I'm not talking here about criminals. I'm talking here more about how we perceive other people. And so a bad person to you will not necessarily be a bad person to someone else. So it usually means that these are people who are not aligned with what you want in life or with your own values. They have different values, they have maybe a different way of seeing the world or a different way of living. So because they're different, you might label them as bad, or they give you negative vibes or whatever. But it is not actually, we're going to redefine bad, but it is this is what I mean by bad person. So it can happen in your work environment. You can be you have to work with people that you like or people that you don't necessarily like, and people who don't have the same way of working. Maybe they don't have the same work ethics. And so for you, it's a bad way of working. So somebody who is workaholic and who doesn't care about crushing somebody else to get to the top might be somebody that's really bad for you. But from their own point of view, they're being very determined and they're going to get there no matter what. So for them, they're not being bad. So, it's all about perception and perspective again. It can also happen, bad people can also happen in your family. You don't choose your parents or your children or your siblings or you don't choose your family. So it is possible that not necessarily when you grow up, but at some point you might have arguments or disagreements, or you just might go separate ways because you don't share the same values. And happens as well with relationships. It's actually something very interesting that I'm going to get into in the next podcast. But relationships, a bad relationship or people who go separate ways. You might define the person as a bad person because that person has not been giving you what you want or doing things that you want, and they might also perceive you as being bad. However, you'll see that nobody's bad. It's just all about perception and perspective, and it's actually a reflection of how we feel. But anyway, for the purpose of this podcast, I would like to play a little game with you, and every time that we are mentioning the word bad, we're going now to think about bad as something that we do, something that we feel. Bad, a negative emotion that you feel when you are briefly attending to details. Basically, briefly paying attention to details. So something bad is something that you kind of almost choose to look at. And then you have emotions about that. So it might sound weird, but it's all about your own perspective and focus. So, something becomes bad to you, or becomes something that you don't feel good about, or it becomes a negative emotion when you pay attention to it and it's not aligned with who you are. So, if it's not aligned with what you want, if it shows you something you don't want, you're not going to feel good. So it's when you pay attention to such details and you don't feel good about them that you feel bad. So it can be an experience, a person, or a moment, it doesn't matter. But this is what makes things kind of bad, okay? But when that happens, all you need to do is actually to just shift your focus and focus on something good. It doesn't matter what it is. Watch a comedy, watch a cartoon that you used to watch as a kid, go in a candy store, buy yourself a candy, watch a movie, go for a walk, take a shower, talk to somebody that you've never talked to before, a stranger in the street, do something else, do something good. Okay, instantly shift your focus. And basically, I like to refer to that as when you, life is amazing, but let's say that you've decided to go on a journey and you climb to the top of a hill, and on your right you can see that there's a beautiful crystal clear lake and it's summertime, and on your left you can see that this lake is totally frozen and it's winter time. Now, to be honest, both have their own kind of beauty, so it really depends on your perspective. Some people are just going to love the winter and feel that the winter side is the beautiful and good side and the summer side the bad one. And a lot of people might also have that other perspective, that summer is good and the lake is beautiful when it's warm and when you can actually swim in it, rather than frozen and with the trees surrounding it having no leaves in it. It just depends on your perspective again. But this is what life is all about. So when you see something or an experience or a person and you're not happy about it, there usually is another side of that coin. You can choose to shift your focus. I believe that whatever happens between a bad moment and a good moment, that timeline in between is literally life. This is where life happens. Because you are going through life. You do something new. Okay, the beginning of life, when you're born, you do something new. When you're born, first thing they do is cut your umbilical cord and you breathe and it hurts and you cry. So it is hard, but you might think of it as like a hard moment, a bad moment. It makes you feel bad. You just, it was painful. And then this is where life begins to happen. So you do something new, you get a new job, you begin a new project, you get into a new relationship, okay? So this is something new. When you do something new, you're going to come across what Abraham Hicks calls contrast, but it can be, you can call that challenges, you can call that obstacles. I don't really like obstacle because I think it's got a negative association with it, but challenges is a good word. So you may come across things that basically will be igniting or making you feel bad. But again, like I talked about our emotional compass before, it's a very important thing to notice and to be aware of. And when that happens, when something that makes you feel bad happens, there are usually 3 very specific reasons that they happen. So, okay, there are more reasons than that for real, in reality, but let's just focus on these 3. So every time something bad happens, again, an experience, a moment, a person, it doesn't make you feel good. Why? Number 1, it can make you realize what you don't want, so that you do know what you do want. Okay, so this is very obvious, and yet we don't listen to our gut. But when we come across a boss or a partner or, and they do things that we don't like, they do things that hurt us, they do things that we don't enjoy, that this is telling us that we need to take another route. It's actually lighting up the switch in a dark room for us to just see the path, So you're walking in the dark, you're starting something new, you're walking into the unknown, and boom, a light switch turns on. And it can be a good life experience or it can be a bad one. And when it's a bad one, it also does the same thing as a good one. It shows you the right way, the right path, the right way to go. So number 1, makes you realize what you don't want so that you know what you do want. So if you don't know what you want, for example, in your life, make a list of what you don't want. Trust me, it will give you a very good idea of what you do want. Number 2, when you feel bad, an experience, a situation, a moment, a person that makes you feel not so good. This is usually to make you appreciate something else than what you're experiencing in the now. So let me go back to that. Let's say that you just you've been told that somebody in your family is ill. It makes you feel bad, right? You don't feel good, you feel lost, you feel a whole bunch of emotions. This is all under one negative word, bad. You don't feel good. But it's also there to make you appreciate things that you actually have. You actually start to notice things that you might otherwise never notice. It's the same thing with seasons. If you like the summer and you see the winter, you really can't wait for the summer to come. You really appreciate the summer, and vice versa. If you've enjoyed hanging out with someone and then they go away and live in another country, it will make you, you will feel bad when they leave, but you will realize that you've really appreciated the moment that you've spent with that person when they were there. So it doesn't matter whether you are actually going to live those moments again. This is not the whole point here, but making the thing that make you feel bad can also be a really good indication of again, making you realize what you do want, because it makes you not feeling good about something really makes you understand that you actually appreciated the opposite of what you're experiencing now. Okay, so that's number 2. And number 3, feeling bad, like I said before actually, can show you the way to better things. So it happened to me so many times and that's why I love saying, and I wanted to write a book actually called Bad Things Lead to Good Things, because my big example was when I was offered a position in a new country, and I got really excited about this opportunity, and I got there and I worked with that person, and within a month or so it just became quite clear that this person wasn't actually offering me a job. He wasn't even sure if he wanted to do what he was planning on doing, or if he wanted to leave the country. I had nowhere else to go, not much money left. I began to feel bad. I began to feel like, what the heck, like what am I going to do? And that's when I'm going to tell you that when you really feel that desire to give up, okay, when whatever you're doing, when you really feel that you feel so bad that you want to give up, this is actually a secret takeaway of this little podcast. This is your cue. This is your clue. This is your indication that the universe has your back. When you want to give up, the universe is giving you a choice. You can give up and you can have no regret. But trust me, if you don't give up at that very moment, you will definitely be experiencing something amazing. And the universe will back you up. I can't show you, you have to experience it for yourself. But trust me, just try it next time. As hard as it might be, because when you want to give up, obviously you don't feel good about something. But every time you really want to give up on something and you don't, and I'm sure that many people would agree, this is where the magic happens, okay? So you want to give up, you don't give up. This is where really, really good thing happens. So again, when you feel bad, that brief attention to details, it acts like a lantern. It shows you the way. When you feel good, you also have a very bright light switch that is turned on, okay? You feel good, you feel passionate about something, you love it. It's a massive spotlight that's being lit up and showing you the way. Go for it, go in that direction, follow your heart. When you don't feel good, you also have a light switch. You're walking in the unknown, you're walking in the dark. Whatever you do is going to light up some light switches. And this also will be able to help you because it will indicate that you're going in the wrong direction actually. So, you feel bad, just have a look. Just sit with yourself, sit with your feeling and try and assess why you feel bad. So it could be one of the 3 reasons I just mentioned, to make you realize what you don't want so that you know what you do want, to make you appreciate something else than what you're experiencing now, and to show you the way to better things by not giving up. So this is usually what happens, So I would love to know what you think about it. Feel free to comment in the comment section, by the way. And I hope that you appreciate it and you enjoyed that podcast, because it just, to me, it's very important along with you to remind you, you are special, you're here for a reason, and no matter what you're feeling, there's a very good reason behind that. And it's okay to feel bad, because it is a good indication of what you need to do and what you shouldn't do, or it is telling you something. So it's our God or universe talking to us. So follow the guidance, okay, and find the light. So there you go, everybody. I wish you a beautiful, beautiful day wherever you are in the world. I hope you have a wonderful time, and I will be talking to you next week. Bye.